Attention passionate Montreal, Canadiens fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the Atlantic Division and it could shake up the entire conference. We're talking about a direct impact on Montreal Canadiens' path to another Stanley Cup run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Montreal Canadiens fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your FRINDS and Montreal Canadiens fans. Let's get to the news now, folks. We know that July is always a busy month in the NHL, and for the Montreal Canadiens, this offseason has been nothing short of fascinating. We've seen some major moves, some surprising rumors, and some whispers that could change the landscape of the Atlantic Division as we know it. And trust me, if you're a die-hard fan of the Habs, you want to stay tuned because there's a lot to unpack here. Recently, the Canadiens made headlines with their acquisition of Zachary Bolduc, a young, talented forward from the St. Louis Blues, and this move alone has set the stage for some intriguing speculation about what really went down behind the scenes. So, let's start from the beginning. The Canadiens and the Blues agreed on a trade involving Bolduc and Logan Mailloux, which in itself was a significant move. Bolduc, a Quebec native, has shown flashes of potential that excite the Montreal fanbase. He's just 22 years old, and what makes this deal even more interesting is the context around it. Rumors have started swirling that the Blues might have offered more than just Bolduc and Mailloux. Specifically, they might have offered Jordan Kyrou, a prominent and talented winger, to the Canadiens instead of Bolduc. Now, this isn't just idle speculation. Recruits Hockey, a well-respected source in the hockey community, has provided some compelling insights into this trade. Former NHL scout Grant McCagg, who has a keen eye for talent and trade nuances, mentioned that it was actually the Canadiens who demanded Bolduc in the trade, whereas the Blues were trying to push for Kyrou. That's a pretty big revelation because it shifts our perspective on how the trade negotiations might have unfolded. It suggests that the Canadiens were more interested in Bolduc's potential, his age, and his fit within their rebuild plans, rather than prioritizing a more established player like Kyrou. This kind of move makes a lot of sense when you look at the current trajectory of both players. Jordan Kyrou, at 27, is already an established NHL winger with significant offensive upside, but he's also coming into what should be the prime years of his career. Bolduc, on the other hand, is still developing, but he's showing signs of becoming a more complete player, more physical, more versatile, and perhaps with a higher ceiling given his age and skill set. Let's delve a little deeper into these players. Kyrou, for all his talent, has had moments where his consistency was questioned, and some analysts believe he hasn't yet reached his full potential. The Blues perhaps saw an opportunity to capitalize on his value and trade him for a younger asset that aligns better with their long-term rebuild. Meanwhile, Bolduc, born in Quebec, is a player who embodies that local pride for Canadiens fans. His style of play is aggressive, he's got a nose for the net, and he's improving his defensive game, a crucial aspect in today's NHL. Now, imagine the impact of that trade for Montreal. Acquiring Bolduc not only adds a promising prospect with a high ceiling, but it also sends a message that the Canadiens are serious about building from within, nurturing their young talent, and making strategic moves that will pay dividends in the future. The fact that they managed to land Bolduc in what seems to be a favorable deal, especially if they were able to avoid giving up too much, is a win in itself. It also signals to the rest of the league that the Canadiens are not just content to rebuild quietly, they're making bold moves and actively shaping their future. And speaking of shaping the future, it's important to consider what this means for the Canadiens' roster moving forward. With players like Cole Caulfield, Nick Suzuki, and now Bolduc, the team is gradually assembling a core of young, talented players. The addition of Bolduc could give the Canadiens more depth and flexibility, allowing them to experiment with lines and strategies that could surprise opponents. Plus, having a local Quebec player like Bolduc helps boost the team's identity and connect more deeply with the passionate Montreal fanbase, which has always valued homegrown talent. Now, let's not forget that the trade talks don't end here. The offseason is a constant chess game, and the Canadiens are likely to be involved in other negotiations as they look to bolster their roster before the season begins. One name that has been floating around in recent weeks is Nazem Kadri. And guess what? The price for Kadri has been revealed, and it's surprisingly reasonable for a player of his caliber. Reports suggest that Montreal was able to acquire Kadri at a bargain price, making it a shrewd move that could have huge implications for their Stanley Cup ambitions. Kadri's experience, playoff pedigree, and scoring ability could be exactly what the Canadiens need to push over the edge and compete more seriously in the Atlantic and beyond. Thinking about Kadri, he's a player who's known for his tenacity and leadership. His playoff performances with the Colorado Avalanche, especially their Stanley Cup run, have cemented his reputation as a clutch performer. For Montreal, adding a player like him not only boosts their offensive depth, but also brings a veteran presence that can mentor the younger guys. It's a move that signals that the Canadiens are not just planning to develop players, but also to compete and make a push for the postseason in the near future. Looking at the bigger picture, the Atlantic Division is becoming more competitive than ever. The Tampa Bay Lightning, the Boston Bruins, and the Florida Panthers are all loaded with talent, and the Maple Leafs are always in the mix. So, every move the Canadiens make now is crucial. It's about positioning themselves not just for a rebuild, but for a real shot at challenging for the Stanley Cup sooner rather than later. The addition of Bolduc, the potential signing of Kadri, and the ongoing rumors about other trades all point to a team that's actively reshaping itself to be a serious contender. Now, if we zoom out a bit and look at the recent history of the Canadiens, it's clear that this franchise has been on a bit of a roller coaster. After a few tough seasons, there's a renewed sense of optimism among fans. The team's young core is developing rapidly, and the front office, led by Kent Hughes, is making strategic decisions that reflect a long-term vision. The Bolduc trade, in particular, fits into this puzzle perfectly, adding a young, promising player who could become a cornerstone in the years to come. Plus, the team's scouting and development staff are doing a fantastic job of identifying talent, especially from Quebec and around the world, to build a roster that can compete at the highest level. And let's talk about the fanbase for a moment. Montreal fans are some of the most passionate in the entire NHL. They've been craving a team that can contend again, and every move, big or small, is scrutinized with love and hope. The excitement around Bolduc's arrival is palpable. Many fans see in him a potential breakout star, a player who can energize the team and the city. And with the team's recent draft picks and prospects, there's a real sense that this rebuild is gaining momentum. So what's next? Well, the offseason is far from over. The Canadiens are expected to be active in free agency and trade talks, trying to fill gaps and refine their roster. The goal is clear: build a team that's not just competitive, but capable of making a serious Stanley Cup run within the next couple of seasons. The recent rumors about the Blues offering Kyrou and the eventual landing of Bolduc show that the Canadiens are in a strong position, making moves that reflect both their strategic vision and their desire to return to the top of the NHL. And of course, all of this adds to the excitement and anticipation for the upcoming season. Fans are eager to see how Bolduc adapts to the NHL level, how Kadri's leadership impacts the locker room, and how the team gels together with these new pieces. The potential is enormous, and it's clear that the Canadiens are laying the groundwork for something special. As always, Montreal's hockey community is buzzing with hope, passion, and the relentless desire to see their team succeed. Pause here just for a second. If you want the YouTube algorithm to keep recommending the latest Montreal Canadiens news to you, it's super important that you leave a like on this video. Go ahead, it's quick and it makes a big difference. Thank you. Now let us continue with the big reveal. Now before we wrap up, I want to ask you, what do you think about all these rumors and moves? Do you believe that Bolduc was the target all along? Or do you think the Blues genuinely offered Kyrou, and it was just a matter of negotiations? Would you prefer to have Kyrou's proven NHL talent, or do you think Bolduc's upside makes him the better long-term investment? And what about Kadri? Do you think he's the missing piece that will push the Canadiens from a rebuild team into a real contender? These are exciting times for Montreal hockey, and I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinions matter so much to us and to the entire Canadiens community. And don't forget, I'll be back very soon with more updates, analysis, and breaking news from the Canadiens. Whether it's trade rumors, player developments, or game previews, I'll be here to keep you informed and engaged. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, so you don't miss any of the action. The passion for Montreal hockey runs deep, and together, we're building a channel that celebrates everything we love about the Canadiens. Thanks for watching, and as always, allez les Canadiens.